Hi everybody, it's Honest John. There's been a lot of talk about the 1%. The elite, the rich, the ones who have it all. And yet refuse to make any sacrifice for their country. But there's another 1%. The men and women who serve in our military and their families. Unlike the top 1% who have not been asked to make any sacrifice for their country, this 1% makes sacrifices every day. Even those who are not in a war zone spend long months away from their families and friends while deployed to foreign countries or sailing the oceans, protecting us. And those in the war zones, they risk life and limb every day. And now we have a much smaller military. During the Vietnam War, every neighborhood had people serving there, had people who died there. Now that's not the case. And because of that, maybe we're not paying enough attention. Take the Iraq misadventure. There really wasn't much of a debate. Anyone who tried to challenge the lies of the Bush administration was shouted down and accused of being unpatriotic. But their lies about Iraq's WMDs could be easily disproved. All you had to do was spend a few minutes on the internet and the information was right there. Saddam Hussein's chemical and biological weapons were supplied by us and France. And they were used up in 8 years of war with Iran. I knew that he didn't have those weapons before we went to war in Iraq. But most of the American people couldn't be bothered doing that research. Even our news agencies did not bother to do the research that was easily there. You didn't need to have access to top secret documents. Every lie that the Bush administration told could be proven false, whether it was the so-called connection to Al-Qaeda, whether it was Iraq's nuclear program, whether it was Iraq's other weapons of mass destruction. You could prove that false by spending 15 minutes on Google. There was a point in the run-up to the Iraq War where Saddam Hussein turned over thousands of pages of documents and CDs and information about his so-called weapons program. Anybody who was paying attention should have been able to tell that the Bush administration was lying and that they'd already made up their minds to go to war, because within a few hours of us receiving those documents and discs, the Bush administration said it wasn't enough. They hadn't had anywhere near enough time to go through them, and yet they'd already judged them. And yet the American people didn't go, oh, wait, something's wrong here. And there was so little outrage about our lack of planning in both Afghanistan and Iraq. Donald Rumsfeld will go down in history as the worst Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense of all time. And yet, last year, he went on a book tour and appeared on the news programs, pushing his book. He should not have been able to leave his house without people throwing garbage at him. This idiot believed that we had won the Afghanistan war after the first battle. And then he believed the same thing in Iraq. And now here we are years later. And the Obama administration is not being held to account either. Let me tell you something. It's not going to make one bit of difference whether we leave Afghanistan tomorrow or 2014 or 2024. Afghanistan is going to be what it is and what it has always been. And we are not going to have any impact on that. We are throwing our soldiers and Marines and airmen and sailors' lives away over there. And it's us who have failed. The military has done their job. And for the most part, they have conducted themselves with bravery, skill, and professionalism. It is the American people who have not done our job. We always talk about supporting the troops. Well, the one and only true way of supporting the troops is making sure that they are used wisely and are not placed in harm's way unless it is absolutely necessary, and we have failed. Later this month, I'll be heading out to the Middle East to perform for the troops. It's my small way of lending my support. I take a big cut in pay to do this. Usually I make in 2 shows what I'll be making in 2 weeks over there. But I'm proud. I'm proud to go over there and lend them my support. I'm proud to make that tiny little sacrifice. See, our troops, most of whom come from the poor and the middle class, have given their all in these wars. They have endured incredible hardship. They have been wounded. They have died for us. So how come it's too much to expect the other 1%, the rich, and the billion-dollar corporations, to do without some tax breaks, to lose some loopholes, to part with a tiny percentage of their money to pay for these wars? Ask that question to your politicians. Think. Support the troops. Thanks for listening.